So with our lovely Miss J, ready, Jojo, come. Nice job, cuteness. We're gonna warm up with, she's like, oh my gosh, there's snacks already. There's a few crumbs that Mr. E didn't want to eat, and that's fine. So we're gonna warm up a little bit with some of our take it and drop it's. So I know they've all been kind of rotating through a little bit of play with toys. I know we did the toy exchange game a little bit with Mr. E, sort of explaining the rules behind that game. So right now she's just doing a couple little find it's just to get in the groove, get cozy. Ready? Find it. Oh, try not to sneeze because, of course, I think my seasonal allergies have kicked in, and every once in a while I'm like, oh, the darn tickle. There we go. So ready? Jojo. Nice. Great name recognition. Super job. So I know you bought a bunch of new toys, so I'm very excited to have her try a few of them. So obviously the benefit of having several different toys is you can rotate through the different ones to create more, again, of this concept of letting go of one to play with the next. So I just have one in my pocket. Well, she's like, lady, I was ready. So obviously with our little lady, the benefit of kind of practicing the revving and the sort of slowing down is, again, you're creating that on-off switch. Mr. E's drinking for a second. It's a little clanky, sorry. So what I would have her start off with is, are you ready? And that becomes like my slogan for, we're about to practice. Are you ready to go ahead and start the game? And then from there, I would go into a take it, so she can grab the toy or try to grab it. And then from there, go into drop it, give, or out. We're not going to use leave it. Leave it's are for things that are always off limits. So again, we might go, you ready? And then take it. And she's like, yes, ma'am. So now again, my toy is alive, and we go and we grab and catch it. What we're going to then try and practice with Miss J is, once she grabs a hold of it, is to either get her to relinquish it again with a food reinforcement, so letting go has value, or, for example, rotation through the two different toys or multiple toys. So sorry, but it makes a squeaky. So if, for example, she finds this one to be very intriguing, which she's doing a very nice job, we want to see if when we get her a little jazz, if we could work a little bit. Oh, I'm so sorry about sneezing on camera. So trying to get her to get a little excited and then go from there. So excuse me. So ready? Jojo, drop. Nice. So I'm going to feed her a little bit while she's still right here and the toy is still right there. Nice. Ready? Go get it. And again, I'm sorry about my sniffles all of a sudden. I went outside for a potty break for the pups. And then again, now I'm all sneezy. She's like, oh, I found a crumb. So very nice. So we're again ready. Go get it. And she might only have so much oomph in her. So remember, for her, she gets kind of heated quickly. And she's like, lady, I'd rather be a naked woman. So if, let's say, she's a little tired, we're going to just do a few little reps, nothing too extreme, because I don't want to get her too fatigued. But let's see if maybe we can try a little bit between the two. I know I have my toy and yours. Mine does not look as pretty as yours, so we'll be able to distinguish. So let's say, for example, we might have the two toys to exchange. Mine is this lighter, or sort of not quite as yellow. Yours is this really nice clean one. So this one, for example, is my original. This is your new one. So sometimes having the two toys and rotation through that can be really helpful. So we might say again, you ready? Go get it. Now my toy is alive, and she's like, greatest day of her life. Go get that bad boy. So once she gets a hold of once she can grab it, there we go. So once she gets a hold of this bad boy, then I might go ready, and I'm going to toss out the new friend, and the new friend comes alive. So the benefit of this is you can rotate through the two different toys. So now this one is still, again, in the game, but now I'm going to make this new one become more fun because it's going to start wiggling. Ready? She just hasn't seen it yet. So if, let's say, she gets a little stuck. Ready, Jojo? She's like, no, yours smells even better. So we could rotate. She's like, woohoo, ready? It's right here, right through the legs. Nice job. She's like, and I'm already tired. Two, you may find she likes mine a little bit better. Ethan says, worst day of my life. I can hear you rustling. So if you find she goes for one more than another, it could be that one's already been used a bit more. Sometimes the brand new toys for some is more exciting and then less exciting. For one of my guys, when I have to switch out the Flirt pole end, and because the other one's seen better days, he actually keeps looking for the original stinky old one, even though I've attached a very nice new one. So it does take a little bit of a moment to get in the groove with one versus the other. And she says, I'm already winded, so she can take a little breather. But getting her to play between one to another, really great venue for her. Nice job, cuteness. She's like, whew, take a little break. Don't get too excited. So I'll put these ones off to the side just for a moment. She was doing a real nice job with the two. But remember, maybe for her to get redirection from distractions out in the real world. So maybe she's out in the front yard, she's practicing doing some of her loose leash walking, and then maybe your neighbor's out with one of their dogs or something. You could see if maybe all of a sudden she sees the friend, you could go, yes, and then say, Jojo, ready? And then go right into play. So that could be another great venue for helping your gorgeous gal redirect from the original distraction, which could be at times too exciting or frustrating, and then back into working with you. Ready? So Jojo, we'll do a little find it. Jojo, ready? Come. Nice. So I would recommend to, keep the game short and sweet, just because I know she does tend to, pant a little heavy. I just don't want her to, obviously the weather is cooler, but still, as we know, they can get a little too breathy and have a hard time catching their breath. So we want to make sure that Miss J is not working so hard that she's having a rough time while practicing. Ready? So we might try a little bit. Ready, Jojo? With a little bit with some loose leash walking. I know she's a little distracted sometimes with the environment. Nice. Just so she can kind of catch her breath a little bit by moving around. Ready? She's like, oh, geez, lady, so much work. Nice. So maybe if she's a little bit tired, excuse me, but my nose again, is maybe she could practice a little bit with a couple weights, and we could do a little bit with some recall practice from those waiting positions. So I'll see if I can get her attention. She's like, oh, I'd rather be a naked lady, huh? But she and I were kind of matching with our purple today, so she looks quite cute. Ready? So I'm just going to get her attention, go into a little sitting position. So for the weights, I know we did a little bit with stay with Mr. A earlier. So going to a stay is stay there until I come to get you. And we're building up value in being stationary. Where right now, if we were working with a weight could be wait before being fed, wait before hopping out of the car, wait before going and visiting so-and-so. So wait is just hold back, sir or madam, until I call you forward. So I might tell Miss J to, again, wait, give her a second or two, and then go, Jojo, come, and then practice that lovely little recall into my space. If this was really challenging, so let's say your babe could barely handle sitting or downing for those few seconds, like let's say your new little baby puppy who is a little lab puppy, maybe for Mr. B, when he's practicing at home, he starts off with a little find it. If it doesn't get stuck on your finger, you do a little find it, and then from there you could go again into calling your puppy, so Jojo, come, and you could rotate that way. So, but if let's say the being stationary is really difficult, start off with movement, and then from the movement back to you. So again, if let's say, for example, she was having a hard time, we could do a little find it. Once she's almost done finding her crumbs, I could go, Jojo, come. Yes, nice job. And I feed for that lovely recall. She's like, there's a snack that we missed right there. She's like, I don't know if she cares. So we'll do another little sitting position. Gorgeous. I'm just going to reinforce her for that because it was really nice right there while the caboose is still on the floor. So again, we're going to get that little sit. She's like, my brain melted. So if she's a little bit unsure right there, yes, I'm going to tell her to wait, give her a second or two. So I'm not going to add tons of distance if this is not as generalized or she's not as fluid with it. If she can do an amazing wait at home from like 15, 30 feet away, awesome. But remember, I'm dropping crumbs, sorry, ma'am. They may have a harder time generalizing the weights to different people or different venues. So again, Jojo, come. So be careful when working the weights that you don't look the way you do when you call. So in the beginning, yes, I hunch over, I lure them forward to the recall hand. Later, it becomes no bending, no hand lowering. It's just so-and-so and the C word, so coming when called. If you prefer the word here versus come, feel free to use whatever slogan makes sense to you guys. But I would make it where coming into your space will eventually just be also maybe a verbal cue versus a visual. I do recommend learning both, because then let's say your puppy is out of hearing range, but they can see your hand signal for like a recall, and it can be whatever you'd like it to be. But you may find like a recall signal visually can be helpful when you're out of the audible range. The other option is if they're out of range when it comes to visual, having your verbal cue is going to be really helpful, because then your dog can hear you saying to them to come on forward, and then they come back to you. So let's say for Miss J again, we're going to get a little bit of her attention. I might get another little beautiful sit, tell her to wait. If, for the example, like you're adding steps and she keeps moving, don't add the steps, work the time frame. Right now she's doing a pretty good job, and I'm going to go, Jojo, come, and feed her for that. Really nice job, madam. Good job. So let's say she's doing a real nice job. We'll try another lovely little set. So we'll do another little sit, tell her to wait. So I would recommend sometimes add a little bit of movement, but maybe not too far from her. So I sometimes like do a couple little steps to the side. If let's say I lose her because she's like, lady, you're so boring, I might go into another little sit, tell her to wait and not make it quite as dramatic. So maybe a little step to the side and then Jojo come. So that way, if I'm trying to generalize some of these novel skills of me adding movement or distractions or adding just more difficulty to the equation, we want to make sure it's still attainable. So again, we got some good noises going by the building. I don't know if it's trucks or trains or maybe the airplanes. It's pretty much everything. So I'm going to tell her to wait, have her hold back for a second or two. She's doing a very nice job. And then I'm going to go, Jojo, come, and feed for that response. Again, you can also work recalls between, like, let's say, for example, 2 or more family members. If you would like, you can sometimes do almost like where she becomes the ball going back and forth between all the different people. And as one person calls her, she comes to that person and rotates to the next one. If you ever have littles helping you, so I know you've got some, I think some grandkids, you may find that if they want to participate, I'd be careful that not all of them are sort of shouting the cue or the name of the pup and then have the pup get really flustered. So make sure that when people are practicing, they all take turns. So let's say, for example, she was, returning back to one of you. Then from there, you could go, Jojo, come. And you could have her go back and forth between the different family members. So this is a great way to help her generalize that coming to many different household family members could be really good for her and not so hard. If it tends to only be certain people that work with her, this doesn't mean that she's on purpose trying to ignore somebody. But remember, just because she's learned a skill to a certain level with one person doesn't mean she's going to apply it to that same level with another human or another new person's practicing. And remember that if your dog has not really had the chance to generalize these skills, you may find for some dogs, even if someone has tried their darndest with the dog, if some of them gravitate more to one person versus another, you may find one person is more, let's say, for example, gets more out of the dog than someone else. If that tends to happen, of course, just like with us, people can also choose to have friends that might be more of a best friend versus an acquaintance. So even though it's sad to think of us sometimes not being the number one person, there could be times where because of either learning history, your dog may not have as big of a bank account in sort of delivered to that person. So if, let's say, most of her practice happens with mom, when maybe dad goes to ask for something, she's not as fluent or not quite as responsive. Jojo, ready? Come. So right there, nice little recall. Great job, Adam. She was going and grabbing a little drink earlier while I was blabbing. Ready? Do another, find it. So we may find for her to help generalize these skills, practicing the recall game sort of between a few different family members may be another really great way to help generalize those skills. Ready? Want to do another little find it? She's doing really, really nicely. Ready? Jojo, come. Oh my God, choo choo. So there are going to be moments too, like where you mentioned where now you're integrating that puppy to the household. It did look gorgeous for the lay of the land, like we had discussed yesterday. I just would make it too, where sometimes there's going to be some individual time for each pup as they're, working their particular skills. So if, let's say Miss Lovely is, really wanting a little bit of her own time, you may find that as she's playing in the yard, like we mentioned yesterday, is have her enjoy her time, but then puppy might be on leash working a few little skills while she's doing some of her fetching. So nice job, ready? And then that way they can start to learn that even though one dog might be playing, it might be the other dog's turn to kind of relax or do check-ins instead. Because a lot of times as excitement goes up, a lot of the babes start to have a harder time honing in. So it's almost going from, again, that more instinctual or big feeling sort of brain versus into like thinking mode where your brain and body are connected. So we'll try again right here. Jojo, come. So right there, I was just kind of letting her get distracted, and that was a gorgeous little recall. Nice job, ma'am. So we may find for our gorgeous gal that obviously when working through some of these different skills through the toys as well, the different games that might be helpful for her too might be the toy exchange game where you maybe have several little balls. You rotate through one versus the other. She maybe had one she was playing with. You show her the next one. She drops the original to go for the next. So that way we can make sure that the letting go doesn't become the end of the game. Good job, Miss J. So let's say right here we might work, again, another little wait. So I'm going to get her into a little sitting position. She's like, did you throw it? I'm going to tell her to wait, see if she can hold it for a second or two, and then Jojo, come. Nice. She's doing stellar with these weights, by the way. So even if she hasn't done as many, I think she normally tends to do them sometimes during like some meals where she's waiting for a moment, then getting released. Remember too, guys, that if your babes are not doing well with something, be careful that you don't keep asking for the skill. So if let's say my dog was really overwhelmed and trying to go from, let's say, the kitchen to the living room or like some sort of threshold, like maybe to go outside, and they tend to blow through the doorway. The problem with kind of having your puppy practice weights right there is they, one, maybe don't know what a weight is that well, or they don't have it as mastered. And then now you're adding the real world setup in the moment where you're trying to teach them how to do it. So if the real world is too difficult, so they're constantly like blowing past you or rushing the door, I'd start practicing with a threshold that, again, I know I've mentioned this, I think a little bit for one of the other beauties, is if, for example, I think it was Mr. A actually, is if your babes tend to dart through doorways, you may want to practice with doors that don't lead anywhere. So your bathroom door, your bedroom door, and practice having them going in and out of those little dynamics. So if, let's say, for example, ready, Jojo? Nice, great recall, madam. So again, come. But if, let's say, your babe is really having a rough time with a certain dynamic, make sure we've given them the chance to work it prior and then start to include some of that difficulty. Nice job, cuteness. She's like, darn this harness. I mean, she looks beautiful in her purple. So again, little positive interrupter, feed for that little check-in. She's really doing a gorgeous job. So maybe we'll give her a little breather from some of this. I want to work a few more little skills and see how she's progressing with some of those other exercises. But the double, the two toys to exchange would be great for her. The toy exchange game that we tried a little earlier for Mr. E would be a really nice option, and for her or the puppy. So they can both practice at different times working similar skills. Ready, Jojo? Come. Nice job. Oh my goodness, getting so tired. You're doing very nice. So, but if again, you're finding that either of the babes are struggling, make sure, have you checked to see, how stimulating is the environment? Have maybe one of their needs not been met? So I know for a lot of the babes, having their chasing and grabbing and tugging, but then also, do they need to go to the restroom? Are they feeling tired because they skipped a nap? So there's going to be a lot of moments where your babes might need something prior to them being able to be much more functional than you were thinking. She's checking out some of my other toys on the chair over there. And she's looking for crumbs that may have rolled under the chair. So, but with our little Miss J, maybe what we'll try is a couple other little tidbits. I was just checking to see. I didn't bring the other Flirt pull out. It's just this one. Oh, actually, never mind. I have it nearby. So let's say for our little lady, we might try a little bit with some of our toys. So I know she is a huge fan of the sheepskin, but I want to see if we can do a little bit with the Flirt pull. I want to make sure that if she's getting a little jazzed, if we can go ahead and go from that excitement to the toy still there, but see if we can let go, do a little find it, and then start again. So we're not going to do tons. Of course, Mr. Handsome saw me grab for the Flirt pull, so he's very sad again. So we're going to go ahead and go, you ready? And now the toy is coming alive, and we chase the toy. She's quite fast. Nice. And we'll see if we can catch it. She's like, oh, I'm already winded. That's allowed. So if let's say she's like, good, I'll just go back to finding snacks. So let's say she goes and she catches the critter. She could also be a little fatigued. So remember, we might just get little bits of play, and that's fine. Because again, she's still working through that stamina. There's only so much the beauties can rock at times. Mr. E says, worst day ever, you took the Flirt pull from me. But let's say again, she's busy sniffing it. I might go, ready, Jojo? Nice. And feed for that little bounce back from the distraction of the Flirt pull. So if at times you can get her to practice moving away from something she finds appealing, like a toy or a tuggy, these are going to be really helpful for her when she sees distractions she normally has a hard time with. So because the point of play, again, is at times we're revving the engine. Ethan says, worst day of my life. He says, I really want the Flirt pull. But let's say, for example, we're practicing revving the engine and then putting the brakes on. Because if we're just go, 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 what happens when she gets overstimulated or overwhelmed, she might have a hard time coming back from that as well. So right here, she's kind of sniffing and taking a moment to play and bite at it. I might go, Jojo, yes. And then practice sort of taking a little break from it or bouncing back. So if you can't get this sort of off moment to do the little bounce back, then we might be revving the engine a little too high, and then it's hard for her to come back from it. So gauge how the play is going, gauge how functional she might be, and gauge if she's still taking food or able to take those breaths or rotate through the different toys. But Miss J did a very nice job. We'll do another little find it for our gorgeous gal. We'll give her a little breather from the toys, and then we'll work a few other little skills. Nice job, Miss J. Such a smart girl.